Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Wayne Marlar, and I would like to welcome you to the Military Surface Deployment and Distribution Command Change of Command ceremony. Today, Major General Gavin A. Lawrence will relinquish command to Major General Lance G. Curtis. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of General Jacqueline Van Ovost, Commander of the United States Transportation Command, and the presiding officer, Lieutenant General Christopher O. Mohan, Deputy Commanding General and Acting Commander of the United States Army Materiel Command, welcome to the United States Army Military Surface Deployment and Distribution Command's Change of Command ceremony. The Military Surface Deployment and Distribution Command, SDDC, integrates and synchronizes surface deployment and distribution capabilities to deliver and sustain the armed forces in support of the nation's objectives. SDDC provides integrated and synchronized global deployment and distribution capabilities to the point of need, delivering innovative transportation solutions on time, on target, every time. Whenever and wherever soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen are deployed, SDDC is involved in planning and executing the surface delivery of their equipment and supplies. As both a major subordinate command to the United States Army Materiel Command and the Army Service Component Command to the United States Transportation Command, SDDC is the global intermodal surface connector, synchronizing surface warfighting requirements through distribution network nodes to the point of need, responsively projecting power and delivering desired effects in support of combatant commands and the total joint force. The command also partners with the commercial transportation industry as the coordinating link between Department of Defense surface transportation requirements and the capability industry providers. With 9 total force brigades geographically located throughout the world to support combatant commanders, SDDC is globally postured to deliver readiness to the joint warfighter. Located to your front are the colors from each of SDDC's major subordinate commands. They are from left to right. The Deployment Support Command, headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama. The 595th Transportation Brigade, headquartered at Camp Arifjan, Kuwait. The 596th Transportation Brigade, headquartered at Southport, North Carolina. The 597th Transportation Brigade, headquartered at Fort Eustis, Virginia. The 598th Transportation Brigade, headquartered at Simbach, Germany. And the 599th Transportation Brigade, headquartered at Wheeler Army Airfield, Hawaii. Regardless of the challenge, SDDC is committed to maintaining our focus on the number one priority, delivering readiness globally. The official party for today's ceremony includes General Jacqueline Van Ovost, Commander of the United States Transportation Command, Lieutenant General Christopher Mohan, the Deputy Commanding General and Acting Commander of the United States Army Materiel Command, Major General Gavin Lawrence, the outgoing Commanding General of Military Surface Deployment and Distribution Command, and Major General Lance Curtis, the incoming Commanding General. Seated in the audience today is Major General Lawrence's wife, Mrs. Becky Lawrence, and daughter, Idalis. Major General Curtis's wife, Mrs. Elizabeth Curtis, daughters Ella and Reagan, and parents Dan and Linda Curtis. We would like to welcome our distinguished guests with us today. Mr. Alan Frosch, husband of General Van Ovost. Chief Master Sergeant Brian Kruzalnik, Senior Enlisted Leader, United States Transportation Command, and his wife, Karine. Command Sergeant Major Jimmy Sellers, Command Sergeant Major, U.S. Army Materiel Command. Lieutenant General Jared Helwig, Deputy Commander, United States Transportation Command, and his wife, Diana. Major General Daniel Tooley, J3, United States Transportation Command. Mayor Patty Gregory, Mayor of Belleville. Ms. Christina O'Brien, Deputy to the Commanding General, Military Surface Deployment and Distribution Command. Colonel John Poole, 375th Wing Commander, and his wife, Shelley. And of course, a warm welcome to all general officers, members of the senior executive services, directors, friends, and co-workers who have joined us this morning to share this special occasion. Participating in today's ceremony are the United States Air Force Band of Mid-America and the SDDC Color Guard from Scott Air Force Base under the direction of Command Sergeant Major Randy Brown. The commander of the troops today is Colonel David Key, Deputy Commanding Officer for Operations, Military Surface Deployment and Distribution Command. Please rise for the arrival of the official party, the rendering of honors, the invocation by Chaplain Seth Rohn, and the playing of the national anthem.
Good morning. Would you pray in your faith tradition as I pray in mine? Dear Heavenly Father, as your word says in Psalms, this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be exceedingly glad. God, we ask your hand upon this change of command ceremony. We pray for the outgoing Commanding General, Major General Lawrence. We thank you for strengthening him so that he could accomplish what you intended him to do during his command here at SDDC. We are grateful for his servant leadership, his willingness to work long hours, and for the many trips he took promoting SDDC in which you gave him traveling mercies. We are grateful for his wife and family who stood by his side during his command, encouraging and allowing him to accomplish what you ordained him to do. Bless him and his family as they move from here to continue doing great things for the Army Materiel Command. And Lord, we pray for our incoming Commanding General, Major General Lance Curtis. We pray that you, God, will grant him the wisdom, discernment, and strength that can only come from you. May it be evident that your hand guides and directs him while here at SDDC. We pray for his spouse and family as they support him, that you will be the source of their encouragement in their lives. May they look to you, God, during the good times and trying times. As the psalmist says, "From where does my help come from? Our help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth." God bless these generals and their families. God bless SDDC. God bless the United States of America. Would you keep them and make your face shine upon them? Be gracious to them, God, and give them the peace that passes all understanding. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander, United States Transportation Command, General Jacqueline Van Ovost.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this extraordinary day where we bid farewell and celebrate the phenomenal leadership of Major General Gavin Lawrence and welcome Major General Lance Curtis and his family into the TRANSCOM team. Thanks for attending today as we reflect on the events of the last 2 years by recognizing the accomplishments of our SDDC professionals, surface warriors, represented in formation today by the brigade command teams and the amazing SDDC color guard. Please join me in a round of applause for this tremendous team. Joe Mohan, my thanks to you and your team at Army Material Command. Through our partnership, AMC and TRANSCOM showcased the logistical prowess of our nation. Together, we have delivered in competition and conflict. Thanks for joining us today as these two amazing soldiers pass the flag for this exceptional organization. Before beginning, I want to acknowledge our outbound command team. I'll start with the most important person in Gavin's life, Becky. Thanks for your constant support and all you do for Gavin and the men and women of SDDC. Their daughter Adela is here today, works as a third grade teacher in Norfolk. Thank you for being here today and representing your siblings. Their oldest, India, is a counselor in San Antonio and couldn't make it. And their son, Gavin Jr., is off to Portugal, presumably as part of his studies at Penn State. I don't know about that. I'd also like to welcome the Curtis family to the TRANSCOM team, Lance's wife, Liz, who's also a part of a great BOGO deal, that's buy one, get one, powerful team members, as she'll bring her considerable talent to the TRANSCOM Operations Director as our Deputy J3. Thanks for your incredible support to Lance and the family. The three girls, Sydney, who's currently in London, working as a nanny for Lance's brother and sister-in-law. Ella, a rising junior at Alta High School now, an all-conference soccer player and defensive player of the year for volleyball. Fantastic. And Reagan, who's heading into the 5th grade at Scott Elementary School, who also loves soccer and volleyball. To Lance's parents, Dan and Linda, thank you for coming today. Dan, thank you, sir, for your service in Vietnam. And to both of you for your years of service and education. Your values of service before self laid the foundation for Lance, so thank you. And to Liz's parents, who will be watching us virtually, Colonel Retired Mike and Ann Dolan, thanks for your support to this amazing Army family. Mike, thank you for your 30 years of service as an Army infantryman and also serving in Vietnam. To members of both Gavin and Lance's family, I'm incredibly grateful for the love and support that you have provided these leaders over the years. Your influence and sacrifice have not gone unnoticed. Now, reflecting on Major General Lawrence's time here as the Commanding General of the Surface Deployment and Distribution Command, I'm amazed at the list of accomplishments and historic moments that has occurred since he took command. A thoughtful leader, Gavin has consistently led up through Army Material Command and TRANSCOM, clearly articulating SDDC's role, capabilities, and initiatives that would ensure success in the new strategic environment. As we revisit those events, I also highlight the contributions of the men and women of SDDC that have elevated the capabilities and reputation of this command. In this decisive decade, filled with strategic competition, our deployment and distribution experts have never been so challenged, but our surface warriors constantly rise to the occasion. SDDC is essential to our nation's ability to deploy and maintain military forces to deter our adversaries and assure our allies and partners. The members of this command helped underwrite the lethality of the Joint Force and force our adversaries to contend with our significant logistics capability. With little fanfare, they synchronized the trains, trucks, ships required to move millions of tons of cargo from bases in the United States to seaports over transoceanic distances to the supported combatant commander and our Joint Force. Fort to port, port to foxhole, that's how we project power, and SDDC makes that possible. Our actions are even more unique in unlike other forms of military maneuver, logistics also presents the rare opportunity to achieve strategic effects by saving lives through humanitarian assistance. Preparing for great power competition, Gavin provided a clear vision for a new operating model that better positions SDDC to support the Joint Force through implementation of smaller, agile deployment support teams, ready access to our reserve forces, and increased training. Challenged with the inactivation of a key resource of the rapid port opening element, Gavin leveraged partnerships at Army Forces Command to conduct critical certification training with their replacement inland cargo transfer companies, safeguarding our nation's strategic port open capability. As the surface component representative, he worked tirelessly to ensure our commercial, rail, trucking, and sea lift partners were well prepared to support operations. These relationships played a pivotal role in preparing the surface warriors for missions of unprecedented complexity, from the movement of presidentially directed support to Ukraine, to supporting Israel after the 7 October attack, to garnering critical funding for the expansion of wharfs at Motco. Gavin understood that these missions required innovative thinking, and only his team of highly skilled movement experts and industry partners could make it happen. Under Gavin's leadership, SDDC operationalized port diversification efforts in support of combatant commands, resulting in several first port uses during Operation Pacific Pathways in Indo-PACOM and Defender Europe 24 operations in the high north, like in Norway and Finland. Then Gavin's team ensured rapid outload of the USS Benavides and the 7th Transportation Brigade Expeditionary, responding decisively to the presidential directive to deploy the unmatched joint logistics over the shore capability. Key to this level of performance is people, and Major General Lawrence made sure that human capital readiness was his top priority. He's an inclusive leader and team builder who has an excellent grasp of the strategic context and provides his team the resources necessary to make the mission happen. The TRANSCOM team is sad to see Gavin and Becky leave, but excited for the opportunities ahead. I know that he will carry with him the same passion for leadership and excellence as the new Army Material Command Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations. To Major General Curtis, this is the caliber of people you will lead, those that make and shape the history for the Joint Force. I know you're up to the task. Members of SDDC, you are gaining a tremendous leader who is ready to build upon your legacy and recent successes. Major General Curtis is a proven combat leader, overseeing the Afghan NEO as the 3rd Expeditionary Sustainment Command Commander, as well as the previous deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and the Sinai. He's the former commander of the 528th Sustainment Brigade, supporting special operations around the globe. Former commander of the 87th Combat Sustainment Support Battalion, 3rd ID, providing critical support to the Hammer of the 18th Airborne Corps. He joins our team from FORSCOM as a Deputy Chief of Staff, G4, where he was instrumental in providing expeditionary, regionally engaged, and campaign-capable land forces to our combatant commanders. Lance, you are no stranger to building teams to solve complex problems. The challenge before you is to leverage the considerable talents of these professionals and lead them to the next phase of strategic competition. I can promise, synchronized deployment and distribution solutions will be critical to integrated deterrence, which is the bedrock of our national defense strategy. Lance, I will count on you to gain decision advantage for our nation by placing the right assets in the right place and time to maximize effects. SDDC's ability to keep the machine moving on our surface assets is foundational to the credible capacity by ensuring we operate at a depth, duration, and volume through strategic ports necessary to meet our warfighter needs. I have great confidence that you're well suited to propel this exceptional command into the future, and it's an honor to welcome you, Liz, and the entire Curtis family. Thank you all for joining us today, and a special thank you to the SDDC team for your extraordinary efforts. Together, we deliver.
Thank you, General Van Ovost. At this time, Mrs. Becky Lawrence, spouse of Major General Lawrence, is being presented a bouquet of red roses by Captain Miller, thanking her for her support and devotion to the soldiers, civilians, and families of the surface warriors. The roses are in full bloom and signify the bonds of loyalty and affection that was developed between Mrs. Lawrence and the members of the command over the past 24 months. Miss Idalis Lawrence, daughter of Major General Lawrence, is being presented a single rose. Captain Schwer is presenting a bouquet of yellow rosebuds to Mrs. Elizabeth Curtis, welcoming her to the command. Yellow is the color of new beginnings and symbolizes her arrival to the surface warriors. In time, the rosebuds will bloom, as will her relationship with the soldiers, civilians, and family members of the SDDC. Miss Ella Curtis and Miss Reagan Curtis, daughters of Major General Curtis, are each being presented a single yellow rose. Mrs. Linda Curtis, mother of Major General Curtis, is being presented a bouquet of yellow roses. From ancient times, armies have used a flag or other symbol to serve as a rallying point under which their soldiers would gather before combat and reorganize during battle. Symbolic of cohesion, loyalty, and esprit de corps, the organization's colors also remind us of their original purpose in parades and ceremonies, such as we are witnessing today. The passing of the colors signify both the symbolic and the official transition and assumption of command. Historically, the colors in Army units are the responsibility of the unit command sergeant major. Today, we honor the past and the present of the United States Army Military Surface Deployment and Distribution Command with the change of command between Major General Lawrence and Major General Curtis. Lieutenant General Mohan, accompanied by Major General Lawrence and Major General Curtis, will now move forward for the passing of the colors. With the transfer of the colors, the organization's legacy is being passed from one commander to another and will serve as a building block for future performance and achievement. Command Sergeant Major Brown passes the colors to Major General Lawrence, which signifies the Command Sergeant Major's key role as the guardian and protector of the colors. Major General Lawrence passes the colors to Lieutenant General Mohan, which signifies the relinquishing of command. The passing of the colors from Lieutenant General Mohan to Major General Curtis represents the trust and confidence in Major General Curtis's leadership and commitment to care for the soldiers, families, and civilians of the organization. By the authority of paragraph 2-5, Army Regulation 600-20, the undersigned assumes command of the Military Surface Deployment and Distribution Command, effective 19 July 2024. Signed, Lance G. Curtis, Major General, United States Army, commanding. Ladies and gentlemen, the Deputy Commanding General and Acting Commander, United States Army Materiel Command, Lieutenant General Christopher Mohan.
Well, good morning, everybody. I would say this is a great Army day, but I am on an Air Force base, so I know I have to be on my best behavior. It is a great day for this ceremonious and a great day to actually do this ceremony in a hangar. You guys got something going on. You never know when you come to an Air Force base. I love inter-service rivalries. We're all part of one team, but you know, kind of poking fun at each other is one of the things that we do. And yesterday, as we were flying in here with a Army aviation crew, that's right, we have airplanes in the Army. I told the pilots, I said, hey, look, you know, you're flying into not only an Air Force base, this is the home of both the Air Mobility Command, we call it AMC Blue, but also the home of the U.S. Transportation Command. Hey, don't embarrass me. And obviously, I'm here, so they didn't embarrass me. But I will say that this is also a ceremony where we have 4 general officers speaking. And so as some of us can be long-winded, my remarks will be short, succinct, and I hope will be worth hearing. But before I get started, I want to recognize a few people. Ma'am, General Van Ost, thank you so much for allowing me to come into your home and have a part of this ceremony, because these are incredibly important to our Army life. Sir, it's very nice to meet you. Mr. Foch, it was very nice to meet you this morning. Lieutenant General Helwig and Diana, Lieutenant General, that's really good to say. Jared, it is great to see you as well. And then the Lawrence family, starting with, of course, at the top, Becky, Idalis. Becky, good to see you again. And Idalis, very nice to meet you. And I know that they've got another couple of kiddos. Who gets to go to Portugal on a school trip? That didn't happen when I was in college. So I know that they are here in spirit. And of course, Lance and Liz, Ella and Reagan, their daughter Sydney's not here, and then the rest of the Curtis clan. Thanks for making this a very, very special day for Lance. So thank you all for being here. I know the mayor of Belleville is here, Miss Honorable Gregory. Ma'am, thank you. I've heard nothing but, look, I was stationed here for a year. Belleville was the place I would go kind of hang out. And so ma'am, thanks for being here. And we also have a CASA Emeritus, Brigadier General Retired Beckett. So, sir, I'm not sure where you are. The CASA, there you go, sir, thank you. Hey, look, our CASAs do an incredible service for our Army, and so the fact that you're here still serving, thank you very much, sir, and I know your wife, Kathy, is with you. I'm incredibly honored to take part of this ceremony as we recognize the accomplishments of a great command, and also we take time to recognize the accomplishments of two great Army families. The late General Ray Odinero was fond of saying that the strength of our Army is our soldiers, and the strength of our soldiers are our families. And that's no better demonstrated than we have here with these two great families. And also, we take time to recognize the accomplishments and the sacrifices that our Army kids make as well, and all of our service kids. If you ask any kid who was raised in the Army, how many schools did you go to? And they're going to spout it off. And most of them are double digit. Most of them are double digit, to include 2 or 3 high schools. And we know that the impact. And so what I would like to do is ask you to join me in a round of applause for these two great Army families, the Lawrence and the Curtis family. So what you just witnessed, it was more than a flag being passed between a few general officers. And that's because SDDC is more than just a place to work. Our Army and our armed forces are more than just another place to work. What actually passed between General Lawrence and General Curtis was the legal authority and responsibility of a warfighting organization. And that's a serious responsibility, and we have a very, very long tradition in the Army of doing just what you saw. In our Army, that tradition began 249 years ago this summer, in July of 1775, when General George Washington rode out in front of the troops at Cambridge, Massachusetts. He drew his sword, formally took command, and our Army was born. Over the next few years, he set the first and best example of what a commanding general in the United States Army should possess. We call it the 3 C's. Commitment to the mission. Character requires a very, very strong character. Competence, the ability to get the job done and to get it done right. And I'm proud to say that Major General Gavin Lawrence, he is obviously has all of these qualities and more, because I've seen it with my own eyes. He's demonstrated that while in command, he models the values of our very first general officer every day. Now, General Van Ovost talked about SDDC's accomplishments during Gavin's tenure, and there's a ton of them, but I want to add just a few thoughts. You may have heard that one's contribution to the battle isn't defined by their proximity to the battlefield. That's often said to explain how much our deployed or forward station troops depend upon what we do here in the homeland. But for SDDC, represented by those colors and those commanders and command sergeants major out there, you are both here and you're also over there. You're the link, the strong link that holds all of the global distribution center for our Army together. Under Gavin's command, you're the link that carried more than 344,000 tons of combat equipment and 10,000 20-foot containers worth of ammunition to Europe in support of our allies and our partners. We are well over 100 ships of military material shipped just from the continental United States just to Europe under Gavin's tenure. Well over 1,500 flights of munitions provided by the Army and our joint force partners to our allies and partners. You're the link that has moved 51 brigade combat teams or their equivalents around the world to meet new global force requirements. And you're the link that did this all while simultaneously maintaining your role in supplying munitions to the entire joint force. We've been very focused on our support to our Ukrainian partners, but it's the entire joint force that you support. By any measure, under Gavin's command, SDDC provided agile distribution and deployment support on time, on target, and every time. And now Gavin and his family are headed to Redstone Arsenal, Alabama, the home of Army Sustainment, where he'll be the Deputy Chief of Staff of Operations, G3, or the G3 of AMC. I've done that job, and it's the hardest job I've had since serving as a general officer. And I am excited, is an understatement, to get Gavin in our headquarters. And also to have Gavin move in next to us and be our next door neighbors so that Cindy and Becky can get to know each other better. And so we are really, really looking forward to that. And we also have satisfied that old adage that all good things must come to the end, to an end in the Army, because once you give up the colors, you come back to the staff. But there's an incredibly bright future ahead for Gavin, and again, we are excited. I'm incredibly proud of what you and the SDDC team has accomplished here, and again, I look forward to serving shoulder to shoulder with you in our headquarters. Please join me in a round of applause for the Lawrence family. Now, you just heard what SDDC does for the Joint Force. That's why the commanding general of this organization must not only be a strong and talented leader, but they also must be an expert in this field. And I'm proud to say that Major General Lance Curtis is that leader, and he is that expert, because also I've seen it with my own eyes. You've heard a little bit about his past accomplishments. You got his bio in the program, and there is no doubt that on paper he is the right person for this job. But what that paper doesn't tell you is what kind of reputation Lance has in our Army. It's above reproach, and he has been given some of the most difficult jobs and difficult missions that are well outside of what we would normally ask some of our general officers to do. And he got that reputation by demonstrated performance, by accomplishing the mission, by taking care of his folks, and by being a leader of strong character. Simply put, you can rely on Lance Curtis. Our Army can rely on Lance Curtis, and that's why the Army sent him here, because the Army, the entire Joint Force, relies on SDDC. And as General Van Ovost said, you get a twofer here because you get Liz Curtis, and you'll find that she is an outstanding officer with an incredibly bright future ahead of her as well, and has also done some of the toughest jobs that our Army has, and done them very, very well. And Liz, we look forward to serving with you as well as we move to the future. So please join me in a round of applause for the Curtis family. To the 5,200 men and women of SDDC, we couldn't be prouder of what you do. You've been in good hands with Major General Lawrence, and you will remain in good hands with Major General Curtis. And I know that you will continue to do the right things and great things for our nation. This is an incredibly dangerous world that we live in. We have conflicts all around the world. All of you have been pulling together, working together, pulling on the same end of the rope, as I like to say, not only doing work for our Army, not only for our joint force, but for our entire nation. Thank you. This will defend. Be all you can be. Army strong.
Thank you, Lieutenant General Mohan. Ladies and gentlemen, the 23rd Commanding General of the Military Surface Deployment and Distribution Command, Major General Gavin Lawrence.
All right, before I get into my remarks, Surface Warriors, rest. Shake it out real quick. Shake it out, shake it out. Okay. General Van Ovost, Lieutenant General Mohan, distinguished guests, family and friends, and last but certainly not least, the phenomenal service members and civilians that comprise the Surface Warriors of SDDC. Good morning, and thank you so much for being here. Your presence for today's ceremony means a tremendous amount to Becky and I as we conclude our assignment here at Scott Air Force Base in my time as the 23rd Commanding General of SDDC. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you humbled and honored, having been given the opportunity to lead this great organization for the past 2 years. What a phenomenal journey it has been. And there are several thanks that I must give as we prepare to depart. I'd like to start by thanking the two commanding generals on the stage and their senior enlisted leaders, our U.S. Transcom Commander General Van Ovost and her SEL Chief BK, and our Acting Army Material Command CG Lieutenant General Mohan, and our Army Material Command Command Sergeant Major Sellers. Ma'am, sir, thank you for the kind words during your comments. Thank you for your guidance, your mentorship, your leadership. You know, I'm often asked, how do you manage balancing priorities and support of two multi-star commands? And my answer is that it's easy when you have CGs and associated staff singularly focused on providing responsive support. Easier when these enterprises are commanded by servant leaders that empower their subordinate component and major subordinate commands. Thank you. I want to thank the members of the Scott Air Force Base surrounding community represented today, as you heard previously, by our CASA Emeritus, Brigadier General Retired Tracy Beckett and his wife Kathy, our Mayor of Belleville, Illinois, Mayor Patty Gregory, and St. Louis University Director Vineet Sharma. From day one, you've been incredible partners and made us feel at home. Thank you for all that you've done and continue to do for our service members, for our civilian workforce. Thank you for your partnership on several recruiting initiatives to infuse talent within our Army and within the SDDC organization. The Scott Air Force Base community is incredibly blessed to have you as neighbors, and we appreciate your support. Now, having never served within U.S. Transcom, SDDC, or in a strategic transportation job prior to arriving in this building, and General Van Ovost, man, I know that explains a whole lot of what you've seen out of me over the past 2 years. I did some research prior to assuming this post. And one of the first items that I came across was the U.S. Transcom motto, "Together we deliver." And I initially focused on the last word of that motto, deliver. You know, I get it, it makes sense. We perform a primarily strategic transportation function. But as time has passed, I've gained a greater appreciation for the relevance in the first two words, together we. Together we, the team of teams within the Joint Deployment and Distribution Enterprise, working in unison to deliver in support of the joint force. And certainly, from a surface transportation perspective, it takes a team of teams to project the force and associated combat power. And among the most important partnerships is the work done with the National Defense Transportation Association and our commercial transportation service partners. You know, many people are amazed when I speak to them and I tell them, as the SDDC CG, I didn't own any trucks. My organization does not have any rail lines, organic sewage structure, nor do I own any liner vessels or strategic seaports outside of the military ocean terminals. Everything we do within the surface component is by, through, and with commercial industry. And I can't thank our fourth component partners enough for consistently answering the call, both in regular day-to-day competition and in crisis. So together, we can deliver to meet the needs of our nation's warfighters. And I want to give a special thanks to Vice Admiral Retired Andy Brown, our NDTA President and CEO. Sir, thanks for your mentorship and support throughout my tenure. The unit colors before you represent the 9 transportation brigades, Deployment Support Command Headquarters, and the Expeditionary Rail Center that comprise SDDC. A total force organization as you heard, comprised of approximately 5,200 service members and Department of Army civilians focused on the provision of synchronized global deployment and distribution capabilities to the point of need, delivering innovative transportation solutions on time, on target, every time. The sun never sets on the surface warriors that these colors represent, literally, as they work tirelessly across the globe in support of port-to-port, onward movement, reception, staging, and onward integration fight in support of our global combatant commands. And our previous speakers went into specifics with regards to their accomplishments, not mine, their accomplishments over the past 2 years. So I'll just add that all that has been achieved during my tenure has been done with what I call the secret sauce of SDDC, its incredible global workforce. They are our nation's strategic advantage, and I ask you to join me in a round of applause for their efforts over the past 2 years. Look, if they let me, I'd be up here the rest of the morning with thank yous. And if I didn't mention you by name, please know that it was headspace and timing constraints that prevented me from doing so. But let me end by thanking 3 groups of people. First, my subordinate command teams and staff. You made the next to impossible look easily and consistently rose to the challenges presented before you. Second, my command battle buddies, my Command Sergeant Major Randy Brown, and Senior Executive Miss Chris O'Brien. Chris, Command Sergeant Major, thank you for your professionalism, your stellar leadership, and sound counsel. You've been the catalyst for a number of initiatives that have improved the readiness and posture of this command, and I can't thank you enough for your selfless service. This command is better, I am better, as a leader for having served with you. And last, but certainly not least, my family, represented today in person by my amazing wife, Becky, and daughter, Idalis, and our 2 children who could not attend today, our youngest, Gavin Jr., who, as you heard, is living his best life, doing a college work-study program in Portugal, and our oldest daughter, India, who's at home as she is expecting our next grandchild. Idalis, thank you, baby, for traveling all the way from Norfolk, Virginia, and fighting the multiple travel delays to be with Daddy on this special day. Your presence here means the world to me, and I want you to know that. And Becky, thank you for your unconditional love, for always being there for me and supporting me throughout our journey in the military. And I look forward to our next adventure together as we prepare to move to Redstone, Arsenal, Alabama, and serve at Army Material Command Headquarters. I love you. Lance, my friend, I'm not lying when I say I'm a bit envious of you. You're getting the opportunity to lead one of the finest organizations in the Department of Defense with an absolutely phenomenal mission. And I wish you, Liz, and the kids all the best as you start your journey here at Scott Air Force Base. And I look forward to seeing you taking this command to the next level. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support to the service warriors of SDDC. It's been an honor and privilege to serve with you in this capacity. This will defend. Together, we deliver.
Thank you, Major General Lawrence. Ladies and gentlemen, the 24th Commanding General, the Military Surface Deployment and Distribution Command, Major General Lance Curtis.
Good morning. It's a good day to be a soldier at Scott Air Force Base, so thank you for the warm welcome. I do not like to use notes, but today I'm going to use some because I have so many people to thank. First of all, I want to thank the Color Guard. You have the toughest job out here, so thanks for what you're doing, and also the band. I also want to thank Protocol, Melissa Polker, and also JC, and Sergeant Major Brown for all that they did to help set this up, and the other soldiers as well. I also want to thank General Van Ovost and also General Mohan for co-hosting this. And I want to welcome the general officers, ma'am, the mayor from Belleville, and also the CASA. Thank you. I've got 3 major time periods represented here today, and I want to talk about those. I have never in my 35 years of enlisted and officer service had this many family and friends show up for any event. I have over 45 today, so this is a big deal. The first time period I'm going to talk about family. They've known me my whole life. I'll start off with my mom, who's a retired elementary school counselor at Whiteman Air Force Base, and my dad, Dan, retired university professor, both from Warrensburg, Missouri, and also a Vietnam vet, 69 to 70. I have my Uncle Gary and Aunt Janice here. I have my cousin Mark with his family, Julia's wife, Sarah, Rebecca, and Madeline, who's my goddaughter. I have my cousin Christy Bestian, her husband Ed, her daughter Abby, and her husband Tim, who's in the Air Force, and on the 1st of August, Tim is being promoted to Master Sergeant. Let's give Tim a round of applause, please. Their sons, Joey and Henry, and then I also have my Aunt Judy. I have my cousin Michelle, her daughter Molly, and I also have Dustin. And then I moved to my friends. Now, I have a unique situation here. I literally have friends here today that I went to kindergarten with and all the way through high school. So I have Sarah Shelby and her husband, Tracy, who are both here. I started kindergarten with Sarah, and I graduated from high school with her. And then also Stacy Flippin, who's in SDDC. I graduated from high school with her. From college, I have Mark Ellefson and his wife, Andrea. Mark was very influential in my Army walk in that he encouraged me to enlist in 1989 in the Missouri Army National Guard. So that's where it all began, with Mark Ellefson. And then I have Mark Wilkins, who is my college roommate. And I literally have not seen Mark in probably 30 years until today. You look great, by the way. But I had an ROTC scholarship. I was on the fence about whether or not to accept the scholarship. Mark and I were at Missouri Boys State together as counselors. He was in the Mizzou Army ROTC program, and he said, buddy, you need to do it. And I did it, and I've never looked back. So thank you for being here, Mark. It's good to see you. I also have my friend Doug Hennon, who's a lawyer in Jefferson City. I have Major General retired Alex Fink from Mizzou ROTC. And between our 2-year groups, 4 general officers have been produced. So Mizzou ROTC has done well. And I also have Lieutenant Colonel retired Gene Moore, who the girls call Papa Gene. And I don't see Gene, but I know he's here somewhere. There he is. Thank you for being here. To the military, I have Lieutenant Colonel retired TJ Wright. He's the guy with the longest hair here. I also have, I think, Sergeant Scott Sauser, who was one of my first soldiers. And I have my lifelong military mentor, Major General retired Tim McHale, is here with his son, Captain promotable Casey McHale. I also have Colonel retired Chris Brookie, who was here before. I want to thank my wife, Elizabeth, who's, as you heard, is going to be the Deputy J3 at Transcom, Sydney, who's in London, Ella, who is going to be a junior at Althoff High School, and Reagan, who is selected to go to Scott Air Force Base Elementary right here. Also, my in-laws, Colonel retired Mike and Ann Dolan. This ceremony is about the outgoing commander. I have replaced Gavin 3 times now, so I know what my next job is going to be already. But I want to thank Gavin and Becky for the warm welcome. It's always easier when you're changing command with a good friend. So let's give them one more round of applause, please. There are soldiers, airmen, and sailors in SDDC. I'm honored to be your new commanding general. Every day, I work for you. We're looking forward to joining SDDC, AMC, and Transcom and the local communities. And in closing, as we walked out the door today, I looked at my youngest, and this only comes from a military kid, and I said, Reagan, how do you feel? She said, Dad, I have gas in the tank. The Curtis family has gas in the tank. We're so honored to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Major General Curtis. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the Army Song. The words are printed on the back of your program. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. On behalf of General Van Ovost and Lieutenant General Mohan, thank you for attending. Major General Lawrence and Mrs. Lawrence will remain by the speaker podium for a short while to say their farewells. Please join us at the Essex House for a reception to welcome Major General Curtis and his family. Together, we deliver. Surface Warriors, this will defend.